that if you say something, then you isolate a group of people. If you don't say something, you isolate a group of people. This is like the 4th or 5th time I've made this video. I even stuck a note up here so I can get through it quickly. Earlier today I was in Sebastian at the park, and it was just me, I'm not joking, just me in the park. This huge open area, and I'm actually in the corner where I've never seen anybody. And this guy walking his dog decides to come over and sit down right next to me, and I'm not going to be mean, so I'm cordial, and I get my stuff and move to another end of the park, and another person walks in. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me. So I actually loaded up my stuff, went to another park. I've never seen somebody at this park before. It's always been dead. When you know it, it was busy. So I sat in my car and I made this video originally, and I think it was a little raw. And I actually want to thank my friend Pastor Nathan Moore for taking the time to listen to me today and allow me to pray for him, because I think that what's going on in the world was just overwhelming for me, and that's new for me. I'm so easy and fast to just brush it off and move on, but God has been changing my heart for these things, and I don't always know what the proper response is besides emotion. So I'm working very carefully on fruit of the Spirit of being self-control, something I don't have a lot of practice at least I don't think so. So I was feeling a little overwhelmed, and I couldn't sleep last night. My heart was heavy for what's going on in my country. I love this country. I fought for this country. I've got time in the civil service in this country. Our family resides in this country, obviously. And just to see the things that are going on is crazy to me. And then when you couple that with what's going on in Scotland, and that's where God has given us a heart for, Lisa and I both, then we have a burden there too. So it's like a double whammy, right? We see what's going on at home, but in our mission field, we see what's going on there too. So you have one that there's division and all this other stuff, and you have one that the division happened a long time ago, and now we're dealing with the results of that, which is 80% of non-believers or other religions, which is tragic. So lots going on, lots and lots going on in this world today, and we have to remember that we live in the world, and this is not heaven, right? We're supposed to be kingdom-minded, but we're not. Not always. I'm not. I don't know about you. I try, but I'm not. Before anybody says anything, it's sweet tea. Calm down. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about was what happened over the weekend. I think that with the young lady that was killed, the Ukrainian on the bus, couple that with some other economic issues, the amount of jobs that are in dire straits right now are pretty high. The labor market is kind of ridiculous. The housing market is flat. I know that one firsthand. So does Lisa. So does my realtor. I've never seen a realtor work so hard to try to sell somebody else's house. She's at stake. She's actually one of our supporters, her and her husband. So they have everything to gain by kicking us out too. So, but obviously God's not done with us yet. And then you have the death of Charlie Kirk, who I didn't know and I didn't follow. You already beat that horse to death. I heard of him. I heard some of the things he said, but I wasn't a fan of his. Short scenario. I didn't dislike him, I just didn't agree with his tact. And that's okay. Not everybody does, right? But the reality is he's a 31-year-old man that's been killed by a 22-year-old man that hated him because he said he was distributing hate. So he killed with hate. That's the part that baffles my mind. And what's worse is that this weekend, there was kind of a threefold thing going on in the Christian church and churches in general. And I'm going to talk about the first one because it's probably the easiest. Some pastors or churches just simply addressed it as a tragic event and that we should pray for his family and moved on. In fact, that's kind of what my church did. And I was kind of glad because after you hear about something for 4 or 5 days, and he is a man, granted, he was an exceptional young man, had a great reputation, and did some things for the Republican Party, and also kind of did breaking ground for his generation for having a voice and using that voice. So I don't have a problem with that part per se. What I do have a problem with is there were other churches that really idolized him. And I think that that is not right. There were a couple churches that we watched online or we saw highlights of, and they kind of featured their whole service around like it was a memorial service. And I think that if you do that as a pastor, I heard this today that I think it was my pastor that may have said this, Todd Mullins, that if you say something, then you isolate a group of people. If you don't say something, you isolate a group of people. I like to say it like this. If I say something about it, or if I say too much about it, I alienate a group of people and friends. And if I say nothing, right? Or vice versa, I alienate a whole other group. And there's probably subgroups within that you would alienate. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation one way or another. So you have to do what's best. But I just saw some pastors that just went a little bit overboard. I'm not going to say their name or their churches because I never want people to do that to me. But what was even more disappointing was watching pastors and clips of pastors or preachers, teachers, speak from the platform hate, racism, bigotry, divisive comments, things that were oppressive and depressive from the platform. Now, I might be jaded because I haven't spent a lot of time on platform, and so I look at the platform as holy ground. When I go to play my guitar or speak, I feel like I better get it right. I owe it to God, not the people, but I owe it to God to get it right, or submit myself to God completely and utterly so He can use me. Otherwise, it's just rust. And if you've known me for 10 minutes, I'm gonna say something to make somebody mad somewhere or say something stupid because I'm human and I'm not that smart. Now when it comes to that stuff, okay? So there was one pastor that called him a racist bigot, and he was glad he died, and that his wife and his children are reaping the consequences of his voice. It just broke my heart. It broke my heart. It broke my heart because not what he said per se, but that he said it from the platform. And James 3:1 is very clear. Teachers, you are going to be held to a higher standard. First Timothy 4:16 says, teachers, beware that what you teach influences others, and what you influence, you're going to be held responsible for. Those are tough words, man. Tough words. So I think that was heavy on my heart last night. And not that Pastor Todd would ever watch my message or anything like that, but Pastor Todd Mullins is my pastor at Christ Fellowship Church. And over the last 3, almost 4 years, I have God has created a great deal of respect for what He does in my heart. Mostly because He's got a heart for people. And He really cares. I mean, like, He truly, him and his wife, Pastor Julie, care. And I would say for the most part, the staff that they hire also cares. And there's a sense of urgency for people's spirits and their souls in that church. It's one of the reasons why we love the church so much. He sent out a video, and I'm going to play just an excerpt of it, and I'll come back to you in just a second. Okay, here it is right here. So that video is kind of heartbreaking, and here's why I say that. Pastor Todd, I felt, for me, now I go to a small campus, right, that has about 800 people. And then you have campuses like the Gardens campus that runs about 20,000 people. So out of 50,000 people, I'm a small number in that. So I trust Pastor DJ Cabrera unequivocally. Like, he's my campus pastor. And he's the ambassador for Christ Fellowship, and even more so, an ambassador for Jesus. That's how I see it, okay? And so he spoke very eloquently and very briefly and kind of addressed the things that were going on in the world, and then left it. And then Pastor Todd made that video, and there's a couple things I want you to note. Number one, he didn't have to make that video. He didn't have to. He felt led to, which tells me there's a tremendous leader in Pastor Todd. Two, it was laced with humility. He didn't come out and say like, oh, blah, blah, blah. He didn't make excuses. He gave an explanation. There's so much going on. It was basically like somebody sucker punched him. Because then you add in the fact that he's grieving over one of his own friends that he's probably spent more than half of his life with in one form or another. And to deal with everything else going on in the world. And people expected him to be at 100%. Number three, if Pastor Todd didn't love his sheep, he wouldn't have made the video. There are pastors out there that I know love their people, but not like that. Most of them probably care less. They'd be like, they'll get over it. Unless there was an outcry. So he put it like this, that he felt like he missed an opportunity. But given everything else in the world, the question is, which opportunity? Was it for Charlie Kirk, the Ukrainian girl? Or how about those two school shootings that happened that basically made headline news and disappeared almost as in fact, the second school shooting in Minnesota didn't even make a news cycle. Colorado made one news cycle, and I actually think it was half. Okay? Half. Charlie Kirk, since the minute that bullet was fired, has been in every single news cycle since last Wednesday. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter to me. That would be SiriusXM trying to get me back on their thing. It ain't gonna happen. Of course, they would call when I'm making a video. Okay, so here's what I would encourage you to do. I'm probably not gonna do it like I want to do it, because everything I'm doing right now involves media of some platform like this, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and everything else. I would encourage you to do a day of blackout. Turn your phone off. Turn your phone off, go to the beach, go hiking, go cycling. That was one of my favorite things about cycling would be, I would turn my phone off and I would ride, I just turn the ringer off, but I would ride for hours, 6, 8 hours, 100, 150 miles in a day and get away from it all. And it was so good for the soul. But right now, me and Lisa, when we were at dinner last night, every single table I looked at, they had their phones up. Every single one. In the movie theater, I saw a white light on behind me. It was a guy on his phone. It's the worst and best invention of the 20th century. Cellular device. Because it's a powerful tool, but it's such a distracting object as well. If I was in Pastor Todd's inner circle, I would have quietly suggested that maybe he takes a day off, or address the Charlie Kirk thing however he wanted to on Sunday, and then take a breath. I have seen it time and time again with some of the biggest pastors in the world. And this is food for thought when it comes to myself. That when they should take a breath, they don't. And they miss a step. But going to what Pastor Todd did and said in the very beginning of all that video, there's no perfect church and there's no perfect pastor. If there is, you better run. That's a dangerous church. So, anyways, that is what I want to talk to you about today. This video has been much shorter than the other video. You're welcome. And even this one I'll try to cut up and make different. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, it's an logarithm thing. We're not monetized. We make no money. But we want people to hear and see the word of Jesus. And, update. Sorry. We pushed back our shipping stuff for a week because of paperwork. Y'all, moving internationally is complex and it's expensive. So, we're shipping our stuff on the 30th. We're still going. We just got to sell the house. So if you would, please, please, please be in prayer that we would find a buyer for our house this weekend. Thanks again. Bye.